What's up, everyone? Scott the TroutHammer here, back with another video teaching you guys how to clean fish. So today we're going to clean some crappie. I've got some crappie that I caught out of the river here recently, and it's really similar to how you clean trout. The anatomy of a crappie is actually really similar to a perch. If you've ever caught perch, they have a really thick body, they have a small abdominal cavity, big head. So there's actually quite a bit of meat on this, but they're a bony fish and they're soft fish. So I'm going to show you two different ways how you can clean these fish. What you need, obviously, one, you need a sink. I got this filled with cold water right now. You're going to need a cutting board. You're going to need a fillet knife. And I've got my 9-inch Kershaw fillet knife. This thing's sharp enough I can shave with it. A spoon. That'll come in handy here pretty soon. Something to dispose of the remains and something to place your cleaned fish in. So first thing you want to do, take a crappie. And when you catch crappie, I mean, you're going to catch a lot of crappie that aren't much bigger than this. This this was about a half-pound fish, so this is a pretty good size one. Anything smaller than this, really unnecessary to keep and try to eat. Not going to be a lot of meat on it, so we'll go with this one for now. So, one way you can clean crappie is to keep it whole and keep the meat on the bones, and I'll show you how to clean it that way first. First thing you want to do, take your fillet knife, get behind the pectoral fin, and you can feel the gill plate, and you can feel where it ends and where the meat begins. So you want to sort of cut behind the gill plate, through the skin, and cut not through the abdomen, but just across the abdomen. You just want to cut it open. You don't want to cut through, and you don't want to puncture the abdominal cavity and spill out the guts. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Get behind the pectoral fin. Sort of feel where your cut was on the other side. Line it up the same way. And then cut through. And then sort of get underneath near the anal cavity and line up your cut. Again, just going through the abdominal cavity, through the skin of the abdominal cavity, not cutting directly through. And then from here, what you can do is break the spine of the fish. And if you cut correctly, you can pull all the guts out in one pull. It'll stay connected. Just like that. So, the only thing that's left inside there is a few entrails, pretty harmless pieces of the insides of a fish. And then you can pull out the lining of the abdomen, getting that blood groove down there. Sort of take your fingernail or a spoon if you want, and just sort of clean all that out. Then give her a good rinse. All right, there you go, nice clean abdominal cavity. And from here, take your fillet knife and cut the dorsal fin off. It's a lot easier if you go from the back to the front. Alright, like that. And then the same for that back fin near the anal cavity. Shave that off. Alright, just like that. Now here is where you turn to your spoon. So, the skin of a crappie, in my mind, is a lot cleaner and actually tastes a lot better than the skin of a trout. So I prefer actually eating my crappie with the skin on. So how you descale a crappie is you take a spoon and you sort of angle the spoon toward the head of the fish and pull. And with the fish being wet and you pulling the scales off like this, you see how the scales are kind of staying all caked up in the front and together. You do it this way, you don't really got to worry about the scales flying all over the place. Same thing on the other side. Another tip for keeping all the scales together and not flying all around your kitchen is to sort of pull and drag the spoon across the scales. Don't try to shave it off and yank the scales off. Alright, once you're sure you got all the scales off, then cut the rear fin of the fish off. Give this all a rinse. Get all the scales off. And one final cleaning. Alright, and that is one whole clean crappie. Quite a bit of meat there for fish like this. And, you know, like this, my favorite way of cooking it is breading it and frying it. You know, this thing tastes like fried chicken. You know, the crappie meat is really soft, really flaky, doesn't have a lot of fish flavor by itself, takes on the flavor whatever you cook it with. So I like to bread and fry these, but you could cook them however you like. Between fish, you want to take all the scales off your cutting board. This just makes the next fish easier to clean. Alright, so that is my preferred method of eating crappie, but if you don't like the skin, or if you want to eat it without the bones, and you want to just eat the fillets, I can show you how to do that as well. So take your next crappie, and this way is kind of easier than the other way, because you really don't have to clean as much of the crappie. When you do it this way, you actually want to take the scales off first. So head and all, just tuck the pectoral fin up. And same as before, start from the tail, angle your spoon toward the head of the fish, and sort of drag the spoon down the body of the fish. And all the scales should just flake up and cake up together. It won't make a mess. Both sides of the fish. Alright, and then here is where you're going to want to rinse the fish off before you clean it, get all the scales out of the way. Then get all the scales off your cutting board. Okay, and then from here, you know, like I said at the start of this, the anatomy of a crappie is really similar to a perch. So if you've ever cleaned perch, you know, be it yellow perch, surf perch, even rockfish, you know, the black rock bass you catch out of the ocean. Really similar in anatomy, really thick body, not a large abdominal cavity, and one of the nice things is they got this big, thick rib cage to protect the abdomen. So when you clean it, the way I usually do it is flip the fish around backwards compared to where you had it. Still do the same thing. You feel for that gill plate, and you cut through the head. You don't cut down into the abdominal cavity. At the spine, turn your knife toward the back of the fish, and sort of cut down the back of the fish. When you get here, when you get past the abdominal cavity, and you can feel where the fish's abdominal cavity ends, that's when you stab the knife through the fish to the bottom fin, and then continue your cut down the back and body of the fish. And then from here, you're going to sort of shave meat down the rib cage of the fish, and you'll feel it. You'll feel where the rib cage is. Alright, not really the prettiest fillet, but you know, that's how I usually, this isn't usually how I clean my crappie, how I eat my crappie. And then, if you've ever, de-skinned fish, you know what to do. I actually want to leave the skin on mine, so I'm not going to show the demonstration, but, if you know how to de-skin fish, then what you do is you'd, shave some of the meat off, grab onto the skin, and then pull the skin while just barely sawing your knife back and forth. Have your knife kind of angled down toward the skin, and you want to pull the skin away from the knife. You don't want to cut your knife through the fillet. That's going to ruin the meat. You more so want to pull the skin against the knife, and that's going to keep all the meat on the fillet, and it's going to keep the skin how it is. And having your fish like this, you know, with these fillets, these work great as themselves frying up, or you could do like fish and chips with these, or even better, fish tacos. I mean, this is a perfect fish taco size. Yeah, there you guys go. That's how you clean your crappie. Hope you guys get out there, catch some of these awesome, delicious fish. You know, check my last video on how to catch these guys. I'll leave a link in the description, and then here you guys have a video on how to clean them. Eventually, I'm going to make a video on how to cook them, show you guys some different recipes and whatnot, but that's all I've got for you guys. And as always, tips up, tight lines, and have fun fishing.